Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Home Care USA Updates podcast. My name is Bliss Pointer, and I'm so excited to share the many amazing updates we have for you today. So let's jump right in. It is now March. Isn't that crazy? It feels like we just started 2026, and now we're not very far from being halfway through. Time is flying, and advocacy is soaring through all of our states. So I'm very excited to start today's update. And this time we're going to start with New Jersey because I think this is something you guys would really enjoy hearing about. So in New Jersey, the home care community is closely watching both the state budget process and growing scrutiny around Medicaid spending. Governor Cheryl recently delivered her first budget proposal, and it includes several physical reforms aimed at strengthening the state's financial outlook. Among the proposals is a new employer Medicaid assessment that has raised questions among businesses and healthcare providers. At the same time, state officials continue to increase oversight of Medicaid programs to ensure compliance and prevent improper payments. For home care providers, these conversations highlight the importance of ensuring policymakers understand both the value of home based care and realities of operating within the Medicaid system. As the budget process does continue, advocates will be working with lawmakers to ensure any policy changes protect access to care for families who rely on home services. So, just, I read out a little bit there. There's a lot of information in this, and kind of we don't have a full picture of it yet, right? Because she just gave her budget address. So we're going to continue watching what this exactly means. We just know this means that it's extra oversight over Medicaid. So this could have a lot of effects on our providers in New Jersey and just the process of how they do things and what it's going to look like in the future. And, small providers that maybe, they have a lot going on. They're not as big as some of our maybe providers that are in multiple different states. I'm not saying that the right way, but basically it means it could cause them to have a lot more trouble trying to stay in compliance. But this kind of goes along with what I talked about last week. A lot of conversations within all of our states about Medicaid and things that could relate to fraud or just ensuring that all of our Medicaid programs are running smoothly and doing what they need to be doing, because the federal government is keeping check on it now on a whole nother level than what they used to be doing. So just ensuring everybody's on the same page. I do know that her budget request was quite large. It was larger than a lot of past year budgets. So it'll be interesting to see all the things that she kind of puts out through that budget. We can definitely tell. I believe when we first started this podcast, we were during the just after the election, and we were talking about how a lot of times you're seeing what their priorities are going to be. And we can tell a lot about what her priorities are based on what she's putting in this budget, right? So I think a lot relating to our teachers, definitely a lot looking at Medicaid. We do not know quite yet if it's going to include a rate increase for home and community based services, but as soon as I know, you will know, and I'll let you know. All right, with that, we are going to jump right into the federal update. Not much new to talk about, and I don't want to bore you guys with talking about the same things every single time we get on the podcast. So, just a little bit of an update. As you all know, probably from the news, continued push on fraud, waste, and abuse. A lot of getting looked at, definitely in the state of Minnesota. And the only real update I have for you is that it is going to trickle down to a lot of other states, especially our Democratic states. So just be on the lookout for that. I know that I've been listening to a lot of committee meetings, not only in Congress, but also looking at different states' committees. And the conversation is really surrounding what's happening in Minnesota and how other states need to prepare to make sure, they're on point. They have their information together, their programs are running smoothly. There's no need to ask any questions. So hopefully things will calm down with that, but we'll keep an eye out and look at what's going on. Moving to Pennsylvania, again, not many new updates for you guys. Again, don't want to repeat the same old thing, but Advocacy Day, March 24th. Big deal. Lots of people. I know the Pennsylvania Home Care Association is working alongside Hearts for Home Care, and a lot of different groups are coming through. A lot of advocates are on their way. So please, 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 if you are not signed up and have not plan to go or have not heard about it, please sign up now. It is so important, and it is going to be an amazing event. I'm excited to share some photos with you guys and hopefully maybe a few clips on what happens at the Advocacy Day. In Delaware, advocates recently made a strong impression during the Joint Finance Committee hearing. Clients, caregivers, and providers testified before lawmakers to highlight the importance of home and community based services and the challenges currently faced in the workforce. Several advocates shared personal stories emphasizing the current funding levels are contributing to workforce shortages and making it increasingly difficult for families to access care in the home. These testimonies really helped enforce a key message to the policymakers in Delaware that home care not only supports independence for individuals and families, but it also helps prevent more costly institutional care settings. So, this is just a note that I want to add to Delaware. You don't see or hear a lot of us talk about the testimonies. And sometimes there's some years where there's not many things being covered in committee. There's not many bills coming around. Obviously, we want to talk about the budget, but if we're not looking for a rate increase, or maybe we got a rate increase the year before, or something like that, you don't have a lot of testimonies. But in certain situations where we're trying to get in the budget, we're trying to support our home and community based services communities, we have bills coming through that might hurt them. Testimonies during committee are so important because that brings the conversation right to their desk. I talk about sharing stories a lot. I talk about getting on social media. All of that's still very important. But when you testify in front of a committee, when they're actually discussing the bill that you are either supporting or opposing, or just want to share, invaluable insight on said bill, that is just amazing. It just brings it right to them and adds to the conversation, especially if they're voting that day. It's a big deal. So definitely that action in Delaware was so powerful and amazing. And I just want to thank everybody that came out to that, all the families, caregivers, providers that shared their story. It was just so valuable. And I encourage everyone, as we get into the advocacy season a little deeper, as we see bills come through, keep a lookout. Hearts for Home Care will put out information. If you're interested in testifying on something, please reach out to us. I believe the email's in the caption. Just shoot us an email. We would love to support you guys in that effort. So yeah, thank you all again for that amazing advocacy. In South Carolina, the state budget process is continuing to move forward. So I believe last time on the podcast, we discussed that DHHS and the governor both had very matching budget requests that they then presented to the Ways and Means Committee on the House side of the South Carolina legislature. So I'm sad to report that this week the House did pass their budget, but it did not include that ask. So that means that the rate increase that was included within the DHHS budget was not passed through the House. And while that's discouraging, it's very important that advocates understand now we move to the Senate side. So the fight still isn't over yet. It's still important to reach out to your legislators, especially your senators. We currently have a letter campaign going on in South Carolina through the Hearts for Home Care website, where you can reach out to your legislator and let them know how important this is to you. So if you're a South Carolina resident, I really encourage you to take part in that letter campaign and just reach out to your legislator. All of it's drafted for you. All you got to do is press the button, and your legislator will know how important this budget process is to you and how important that ask is. So please, please, please participate if you can. Small update from Florida. Advocacy efforts are continuing to build momentum as legislative discussions move forward in Tallahassee, specifically surrounding the budget that will be worked through in April, which is next month. So I should have some bigger updates for you guys on the Florida budget come next month. I'm excited to share. All right, moving to North Carolina. So North Carolina just had its primary election on March 3rd. When I say it was very interesting, it was pretty interesting. First of all, we just want to note that Representative Carla Cunningham did lose her primary race. The representative was just such a powerful home care advocate, a champion is what we would call her in our legislature. So we're sad to see her go. She was very supportive and was on a lot of very major committees. So that was definitely a loss for North Carolina. However, there is a very interesting race that if you're a North Carolina resident or even outside of it, if you like to follow campaigns, this is a really cool thing to watch. So, Senator Phil Berger, who has been the pro temp in the North Carolina Senate, he's the top guy in the Senate for many, many years, very long. I believe it's the record. He's the record holder for the longest to stay in that position. Don't quote me on that, but I think it is. And if not, he's pretty close. He had his primary and was actually in a recount, still is in a recount, was separated by 2 votes from the county sheriff, Sam Page. Now, as a North Carolina resident myself, this is a very interesting conversation, not only because I live next door to that county, but also because you really don't see that happen, especially in a primary with an incumbent that is so powerful and has been there for so long. But this would mean a lot of change. The race was first separated by 2 votes with Sam Page in the lead. And then now I believe it's up to 35 votes separating them two, with Sam Page still leading. So if the recount continues, it may be 2 months before we know who actually won the race. But if Sam Page does win, this is going to mean a very big change in the North Carolina legislature. And when I say big, I mean very big. This is going to mean complete restructure of the North Carolina Senate. And as you know, in North Carolina, we have not had a budget, a full budget. We've had many budgets, but we have not had a full budget in a few years. It's very interesting. So I think, especially with the House side having had a restructure of leadership, I believe the first year was last year with the new leadership, I'm very hopeful to see a little bit more cooperation between the Senate and the House side, if this does follow through. And either way, we still have a session to get through. None of this is going to affect this year. So as I talk about this now, this is more of a 2027 conversation, but we're still very hopeful. It looks like I was listening in on the committee where the new assistant Medicaid director, Director Bush, was at her first committee hearing on Tuesday, and she did a great job talking about why the rebase is so important. As you know, we did have those cuts last fall, and just looking at, we need to get this funding taken care of before April. And what the governor did for us in reversing those cuts is only going to last until May time. So we really enjoyed listening to that discussion that happened on Tuesday and just talking with legislators about how important it is to get that funding taken care of, not only for 2026, but for the years to come, 2027, 2028, just to give those in the home community-based services community the peace. We don't want to worry about this anymore. We don't want to think about it. It's a lot. So definitely looking at that and hoping that will change. Another small update coming out of North Carolina that relates a little bit more to the federal government is the upcoming Senate race. So this is going to be between the past governor, Democrat Roy Cooper, and the Republican primary winner, Michael Whatley. So both of them are very powerful individuals in the state of North Carolina, and it's going to be very interesting to see. A lot of money has been put into this race. This is something that's been followed by not only North Carolinians, but many, many others across our country. It's just going to be really interesting to see. So I'm excited to share updates on that. All right, today I don't have many other states to report on, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in our world today. Many of you, just like me, watch the news and get really overwhelmed, not only with things going on here on the home front, but just things happening across our world. It can be really overwhelming, and sometimes you may look at these advocacy efforts or letter campaigns and say, why? Is it going to help? With everything going on, is it even worth it? I promise you, please, please, please keep your head up. I know how it is watching everything go down, hearing about all these states, some with good news, some with bad news. It's just important to know that no matter what you do in advocacy, even the smallest little bit of effort counts so much towards all of these results that we're talking about on this podcast. So, obviously things continue to change, especially with things trickling down from the federal government, things going on overseas. Please, please, please keep your heads up. And I promise that I will do my best to give you the most up to date information to help you feel prepared for all of the advocacy coming up, with all of our amazing advocacy days on the way and plenty of other things to get involved in. So please check out the Hearts for Home Care website if you're interested in attending anything in your state or interested in participating in any advocacy efforts through social media, through letter writing campaigns. There's a lot of things to do. And I wish you guys have a wonderful rest of your month of March. I will be back in April. Very exciting. It's a rainy day here in North Carolina, but we're excited for spring. We're excited for warm weather. And I look forward to continuing talking about the amazing advocacy season we are having. Bye, everybody. Have a great month.